Welcome, variants, to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast, brought to you by Anchor. My name is Dylan, my co-host Akram is here, and today we're talking about all things Loki related. Akram, what's going on? What a season finale they gave us.
Yeah, I was shocked, to be honest with you. I did not expect that surprise character. I thought it was going to be someone else.
Hush now, spoiler.
We'll get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it, definitely. I'm so excited to talk about this episode. Just dropped on Disney+. There's going to be a lot of spoilers in this discussion, guys, so unless you run the TVA and you know everything that's about to happen, don't say we didn't warn you, because there are some major theories that were confirmed in this episode. I'll hold off on that for later. But Akram, did you feel this episode delivered for a finale?
Absolutely. I feel like the reaction I had was like the reaction I had in Endgame. It's just such a giant episode, and such a small format too. There's not much going on in an episode, but there's just so much exposition, and it just freaks you out, like seeing how huge this is. Such a grand scheme that surprise character is playing. So it delivered for me. How about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. It hit an like you said, it's only like a couple scenes, maybe, if like there's like a long shot scene, I guess, with Loki and Sylvie in the Citadel. But overall, I really think this episode delivered. I think it was a great way to tie up some character arcs. Great development, great character development for everybody, especially Mobius. I think he's come a long way.
Oh man, yeah, and especially that ending though, it kind of left me heartbroken a little bit. We learned so much, and he developed so much, and now I don't know.
There's a lot of great themes in this show, like the subject of predeterminism versus choice, how much of our actions are our own, like battling the idea of like destiny or fate. I really feel like Sylvie's frustration in this episode, because like you can tell like she believes like the TVA is bullshit just because of like the whole like design purpose,
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. This episode made me just feel wronged a little bit. Not in a bad. Well, I guess no matter what, you'll feel bad when being wrong. But I guess it makes sense towards the characters. I just felt like everything leading up was. It's like if they met God or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just that's why I compared it. Yeah, that's why I compared it to Endgame, because it's like something that I'm like, wow, this guy is more powerful than Thanos, basically. So it connected completely with the first episode when Loki seen the Infinity Stones, and then all of a sudden now they meet him. I could, like Miss Minutes said, I could make you, an Infinity Gauntlet. That's crazy. And like
Miss Minutes scared the fuck out of me in the first shot.
Yeah, I always tell him she's like his gain in the first Black Widow review that we did.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that long hallway shot in The Exorcist 3. It's where the nurse comes out. And it's just like Miss Minutes coming out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that and Miss Minutes. So I guess Miss Minutes is an AI that was programmed by. Do you want to say the spoiler?
Well, for now, let's just say the character that we're referring to is called He Who Remained.
Okay.
We're gonna talk more about that later, but so yeah, basically, so it starts off with the opening Marvel titles, and I think it was interesting how they did it this time, because you hear the voices of everybody that's been even like from the Marvel movies to the Marvel TV shows now. Like I even heard like Vision when he's talking about like what is grief if not love persevering. So I have a theory that is a hint that is alluding to that the effects of this show are going to bleed into like all the future Marvel films.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people think that this show isn't that important, but yeah, I completely agree with you, because Kevin Feige said that Disney Plus will, they'll both like run parallel to each other. And so this basically confirms it. And so I like that beginning, as you said, because it's like we have all these sound bites of the characters we love, and it basically, I guess, encapsulates the whole MCU. And right there, when they're meeting that mysterious character, it's like they're in a giant pill, right? This is the MCU right here. you know. So seeing even that timeline, right? It's like, for me, I don't know. I feel like to take a screenshot of it or like just keep it as a wallpaper, because that's the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe from Marvel Studios, and I love that. Yeah, it's so this episode was so epic.
So surreal. I love the visual shots that they give us in this show. Like seeing like it started for me like that. I think that was the last episode. They showed us like the hallway scene where like they're zooming in on the timekeeper's door, and then you kind of like zoom out to the void. And they kind of did it with this episode too. It was like you saw that shot of like the universe and space, and then you see like the sacred timeline stuff. I love that visual aspect of this show. Like they play so much with it.
I know the CGI was so good. I thought they were using Unreal Engine 5. It was so like that. Like I feel like they spent most of the budgets on the cliffs and the rocks. It was really good. It was so
they
crisp.
Actually went out to space and like shot the whole thing.
I know, they did the Forza Horizon thing where they took 12K images of like Pluto or something. They got enough money.
The Hubble telescope just to like film half this show.
I know, basically it's like, and what a scary concept too. What a scary, and the ending too. I was really frightened by. I don't know if this will really, like, for example, if we're gonna have I guess not the new Spider-Man movie, right? I guess if we would have like a Captain Marvel movie or something, I guess this wouldn't directly affect that per se, because it'll be so hard to manage, right? But I hope that everything gets resolved in season 2, that it was confirmed as an end credits. So.
Yeah, I think they even said like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is going to deal with a lot of the after effects of this show. We might even see it. I doubt we'll see it in Shang-Chi, but I guess like future Marvel. I think, Ant-Man Quantumania, I think we're definitely going to see some of it too.
Yeah, because we do see a statue later on, and things do change from that mysterious character. And it's like, you know, who we met earlier. Well, we might as well spoil it because everyone knows who's Ant-Man.
Yeah, we might as well say it. So for all the fanboys out there, it was confirmed that Kang the Conqueror was introduced in this episode. So no Mephisto bullshit.
Yeah, I know. I didn't expect that. I thought it was somebody else. So like we do see a statue of Kang, or at least the Kang that we know from the comics, because the Kang that we meet here is a very different
outfit. Well, in the statue at least has the same outfit.
Yes, sans the helmet, right? And I wonder what's going to happen with the blue, unless Kang gets more powerful later on or something that directly ties to it. But
they kind of alluded to it in the beginning, like they didn't really confirm it until the end when you saw the statue. But in the beginning, when he's like talking about himself, he's like, "Oh, I have many names, like a ruler, a conqueror," and then that kind of like that teases all the fanboys, like, because Kang the Conqueror, so
Yeah, I mean, and then like, just because when Ant-Man Ant-Man Quantumania revealed the casting and it was like Kang, I was like, okay, this is really ambitious. I thought this was like an Avengers threat or something, So the fact that, again, here's the thing, Disney is going to tie into the movies and vice versa, because we have like the first reveal of Kang, or at least a variant of Kang right here. So yeah, they changed, so the statue changes, right? And so this Kang is like it kind of reminded me of like Justice League, Batman v Superman, Jesse Eisenberg, right? Jesse Eisenberg's character, Lex Luthor. It's a little bit, but it makes sense, because imagine the guy seeing like every single thing throughout history of time, every single person. And so it makes sense, but I have a feeling that this Kang is definitely going to be brutal. Maybe at a Thanos level, or maybe just way more cold and calculated. So that's, I don't see how Ant-Man, right, and his crew is going to handle that. Because like,
it's weird that it shows Ant-Man to be like the vessel for that kind of villains, like, because you would think he'd be way too overpowered for someone of that kind of, because Ant-Man is kind of like the comedic jokester of the Avengers. So you think like maybe like the Fantastic Four, or like somebody like, or like you said, like Captain Marvel or something like of a higher caliber.
Yeah, I don't know. And the guy's not just powerful. I mean, he knows what you're going to do next. He's the one who makes you punch. You know what I mean? If you're going to try to punch him. So it's like, I'm just thinking, unless this is the great bad like Thanos is, right? So unless he shows up here and there, and Ant-Man, the film will end in a complete loss. and then he just gets away or something like that, and then eventually, because again we're seeing new characters get introduced. So WandaVision is OP. I mean WandaVision, Wanda is OP, right? And so you have different renditions like of Hawkeye, for example. I'm saying that Hawkeye is gonna be the one to destroy Kang, but you know, you have different renditions. So we'll see. Like maybe Sylvie is gonna have a part to play. To, you know, we could see her in a movie or something like that. So I got a feeling this is kind of like a thing that they're planting the seeds for like a couple of years, and then we'll finally get like an Avengers movie where like there's new people fighting the new Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they were never really like confirmed anything that happened with Sylvie at the end. Because you just see that shot of her kicking Loki out of the with the temp pad, and then it doesn't really say if she survived or not. So I hope we see more of her. I doubt they would just throw her away like that, because Sophia DiMartino, she's a wonderful actress, and she really brought a lot to the show. So I would hate to see her go away, but yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to see what season 2 brings. And then it's funny because like watching this episode makes me think of a lot of like Rick and Morty, with like the multiple. I don't know if you watch Rick and Morty, but it's like it deals a lot with like parallel universes and stuff, and there's like a whole council of Ricks from like alternate universes. So that's what I was thinking like the whole time. Like maybe Kang, like there's like a whole society of like Kangs that are, because he did say there were like good Kangs out there. So maybe not all of them are out to like conquer the universe. Maybe there's like one or two, like maybe the one Kang that we know from the comics, he's maybe the baddest of them. So I would like to see like the different variants of him.
I got a theory. I bet the only way to beat Kang is to introduce another Kang. Kind of like Loki is the catalyst of Loki, or like just the de-escalation of that character, right? So he meets Sylvie and she's good for him. Maybe that's the same thing with Kang. I'm not saying, oh no, that'll be crazy though. What if Kang, there was a female version, right? And what if it was Ramona? I think that's how you say her name. What if she was the female version of Kang? I'm just like my speculation right now is kind of like the whole Mephisto thing right now. But I really do have a feeling that's the only way you could beat Kang, is introduce another Kang.
Well, it makes sense because it's like Loki from the beginning. It's like the only person who knows Loki's mindset is Loki. So right. The only way you're going to beat Kang is to introduce another Kang or multiple Kangs. We don't know, because they obviously share a common interest in universal technology and things. So who better to weaponize than, multiple Kangs?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I have so many questions, you know what I mean? It's just and ended so abruptly too. I never really seen an MCU show, because they knew they won't have a season 2. So I think these guys knew what they were doing, and they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna end it in we're not gonna just tie all loose ends."
It wrapped up very quickly. That's what my thing was. It started off very well. The pacing was very well in the beginning, and then it kind of just like cut off, because like we didn't only saw like maybe like 2 shots of like Renslayer, and then she kind of just dipped. So right. I wonder where she, because I thought maybe we're gonna see like an after credits scene of like where she went, but they didn't really like go into that. So I'm wondering where she went.
Yeah, I don't know, and again, that thing with Mobius is disheartening. I just feel so sad now that everyone forgot all that hard work, and all of a sudden now they're back in the same place. So, and Loki's like in the midst of it. Yeah, I know. He has bad luck with jet skis.
The one thing I wanted was just him to get a jet ski. That's all I wanted. But no, Kevin Feige was like, no, that you gotta stick around for season 2 for this.
Well, maybe if like they go back in time and they do the end game thing at the end, Mobius could come out one of the portals with a jet ski.
Right.
And hopefully bring in Dominic Toretto's crew.
On your left, and then it's just they all jump.
Yeah, I know.
The jet ski has like wings and like hovercraft and shit. So.
I know. Peter tries to ride it. Yeah, right. I have a lot of questions, more answers than questions. This episode was heavy in exposition. Sometimes that's bad, but I needed that explanation, right? And so I'm glad we got it. And honestly, this is probably, I mention this a lot too, because I always say, oh, this is going to be the most important movie or series for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But this time it actually feels like it. I mean, right here, this is, you destroy the timeline, that's it, know? So this is a really important episode. This is like bookmark worthy or like benchmark worthy. Like this is, to pay attention to. I hope too. My hopes is, what if this is their way of tying in later on other shows that are, I guess it's kind of relative or subjective, but like other shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Cloak and Dagger. Well, is that a part of the same universe? Yeah. Like I maybe later on they would, because again we have Matt Murdock coming in the new Spider-Man film. It's rumored, but it's pretty like heavily linked.
Possibility.
Yeah. Well, you have Ryan Reynolds that did that new promotion for his new movie Fall Guys, not Fall Guys, something like that, and he's with Korg and he's playing Deadpool. So that was like, I don't know. It's just like, something's in the air tonight, and I don't know. I got a feeling we're in for a big surprise. A lot of big things will be happening. Like even a Spider-Man movie has Doctor Strange, right? And they're basically, I think the whole film is just trying to get everyone to forget who Peter is. So it's like, there's so many like, I don't know. Everything now just feels grander in such like a short period of time to show it, like TV series or whatever like that. Like instead of waiting 10 years and then we got like basically in total
now it's like
that's the thing. Kevin Feige said he wants to build experiences. Everything that you see basically is, and he said this recently, everything that you see, the directors, everyone who's producing it, they imagine the audience. They imagine themselves sitting in the audience. So what moments will people react the most to and cheer? So I got a feeling that this is going to be way more on a grander scale.
There's pros and cons to that. I mean,
there is.
Endgame worked because it was a culmination of the past 10 years of every Marvel movie that we've seen. But going forward, like the multiple crossover thing kind of wears off on me a little bit.
Really?
A little bit, not too much. Like, hear me out. So, like, you have like the two biggest movies coming out, right? You got Doctor Strange, and then you got Spider-Man. We both know they're gonna somehow deal with, the after effects of Loki. So there's gonna be, and you look at the cast for each of them. So, like, look at Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange already has, obviously Doctor Strange, and then Scarlet Witch, and then you still have to bring in Baron Mordo because that cliffhanger at the end. So, I mean, it's cool that they have crossovers, but it kind of takes away from the character's own stories too. And then like Spider-Man, like you got Daredevil, you got Doctor Strange, and then, you still have all of, Peter's supporting cast. So,
yeah,
I mean, it feels diluted a little bit because like it becomes less about Spider-Man and more about the Marvel Universe, which is good and bad.
Well, that's like a teaser too. I mean, Spider-Man's a teaser to your problem right now because we had that issue with the whole character of Spider-Man, right? Because I mean, come on, I want a solo Spider-Man movie, but we got Iron Man. Oh, Cap's involved. Okay, let's get him. You know what I mean? It's like he is kind of like being helped by everyone, and it makes sense because who wouldn't want Iron Man to help out with tech if you have tech issues, right? So I get what you're saying. I think that it's a very sensitive and fragile balance between, and you have to make it make sense, right? Because like if
it doesn't make sense, if it's not like Civil War made sense because that was an arc that required multiple crossovers, right?
Right.
But if you're going to like Spider-Man, which is kind of like a solo thing, if you bring in too many characters, then it becomes less about Spider-Man.
Well, and I guess that also shows you how much money Disney's backing for Marvel, because to cast multiple A-listers, right, instead of just a couple of people and some less knowns, whatever, it just shows you how much they're willing to sacrifice. I mean, the whole acquisition with Fox, you know what I mean, just to bring these characters. So I think you're going to see the issue that you have actually become worse if you really do have an issue, because I think that's what they're building towards. It's like, there's a reason why they showed multiple timelines or multiple dimensions, right? Oh, because we're going to get multiple characters from like Elseworld or something like that. So I think it's going to get worse. Now, I hope that it makes sense, because you're not going to have, oh, this is my solo Spider-Man movie finally, you know what I mean? And a big explosion happens and hey, Captain Marvel's up in the air and she saw that, oh, well, I got stuff to do, right, Yeah. But that's how the comics is too. Like, I don't know if that's a thing where you have to just ignore it, you know what I mean? Like, just, oh, okay, let's just ignore it. And if you don't think about it and you take the movie for how it is, it could be a really a fulfilling experience. So I am worried too, but not to the extent that you are though, because I am really
Not even
excited
that I'm
though.
worried. It's just like you said. It has to make sense. It doesn't.
Yeah,
That it doesn't. Like the supporting character should strengthen the protagonist and not become like the main focus. You know what I mean? So it's not that I'm
right.
worried about it. It's just like I'm just worried that they won't be able to handle it like they handled like Civil War and Endgame, and then becomes like all over the place to the point where like it's kind of like cheesy to watch. You know what I mean?
I completely get that. Yeah. Do you think that they made a big mistake with like Spider-Man Homecoming, adding Iron Man into the mix, or do you think that like Iron Man should have
No,
been
because you
AFK?
know what, Iron Man didn't even have that many scenes, and the scenes that he did have was relative to the story because he was there, um, as like a crutch for Peter, you know, to get him off his feet, and then it kind of like bleeded into Endgame too, because then Peter was kind of like Tony's crutch. You know, he was kind of like that motivation for him to, you know, get involved and then bring everybody back from the snap. So I mean that was fine for me. It's just,
I
you know,
I
how do you
felt,
feel
I
about
don't
it?
know, like I felt, yeah, the first part's okay. Spider-Man Homecoming, I guess, is okay. I mean, he got this Stark suit because officially it's dubbed the Stark suit, right? So that already you know that like Peter's getting help from everywhere, right? And so I know this is mostly a Loki review, but just to say this, just to
Way
preface
way
this,
off topic, but yeah.
yeah, no, but basically, no, but it makes sense because in the grander scheme of things. But it's like, you know, and then later on, Spider-Man Homecoming, oh, let's use this advanced ass suit that you would normally see in a Spider-Man comic if he's like a grown ass adult, right? So it's just like, I hope, like my concerns, like yours, I hope that we don't get something where people are helping too much or to a degree where it kind of like diminishes the character's
Right.
strengths, you know?
Yeah, it feels too much like a video game almost.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So.
going back to Loki, so I think Loki's arc in this was really fulfilling for me. I think he's come a long way, like from the first episode where he's talking about like the biggest lie is like the Song of Freedom, to now where it's like he's fighting to save like all these innocent timelines. Like that's just, it subverted my expectations from our previous podcast episode when I was like I figured like maybe Loki would somehow try to find a way to take over the TVA, but now he's trying to save it.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's so poetic. I always mention that when I'm talking about Loki. It's such a poetic experience, and everything rhymes with each other, and everything complements each other. And so it's so crazy just to see Sylvie complimenting Loki in a way of like, you know, they have something going on, right? And it's just like he's fallen in love with himself, and he did come a long way. And we did. I mean, that's basically spotlighted and at when he's like trying to avoid killing Kang and try to divert Sylvie's death threats towards Kang. So it's like, I don't know, I feel like I'm proud of Loki, and I feel like now out of everyone I trust Loki the most, which is so funny because
Which
he's
is
so,
weird, yeah, because he even
yeah,
said like I'm not the one that should be. I'm usually the one that is least trusted.
yeah, and
So
that's
now that
that's
he's kind of like the voice of reason, it's like surreal.
and he's fulfilling his purpose. I'm sure Odin will be proud. Honestly, it's like it's such a. I just love that character development. I love
Mm.
things when like you see that character development. And granted, you also the great thing I think that helped out Loki's situation is that we've spent a lot of time with Loki, developing through time, and then he died. And then, so the crazy part is this isn't the Loki that we know from Endgame, you know. So it's like, well, I guess when you see something, I guess I always mention Kang as like God, whatever, because basically, in a way, he kind of is. It's like, you know, you will change. And so I love that he changed for the better. I love that, you know, I'm sure in a different timeline, maybe he would have took over or took the chance for the Infinity Gauntlet. But it's just like, I hope we see more Loki variants too. I hope that's the thing in season 2. You know, I hope
I
we
would love to
see,
see that, honestly. Yeah.
yeah, there's so much you could do just because this show. So yeah, I don't know. How about you? What else do you think about Loki's character development, or Sylvie in general? Because Sylvie, in a way, kind of, I guess she was just this hard
So
ass at first, you know?
she still kind of is. I mean, like she's from beginning to end, she wanted to kill the timekeepers or whoever, you know, the man behind the curtain.
Right.
So she hasn't changed too much. But her arc kind of has come full circle. She fulfilled what she wanted to do, but of course that's gonna have consequences in the end. Um, I don't know. Do you feel like she was justified in her actions? I mean, it felt like it was more personal for her, which she even admitted to. She's like, it was for me, it was personal. But do you think she was justified in her actions?
I think, you know what's funny? I agree with Kang when he said, grow up, basically, right? It's so hard to say that, like, when she's been through so much her whole
Right.
life,
Yeah.
you know? But again, this is probably the biggest moment in the MCU, right? That we just witnessed. So she has to realize that there's a lot more at stake, more than people. There's everything's at stake. The whole existence of even planets, right? Of even matter. It's like she was like that kind of. I don't know. I'm disappointed by her actions, right? I would have liked for everything to be okay and la li da. I don't know what she's gonna do next because I don't know if she's even stuck there. I felt like she did develop as a character, or maybe at least subtly, but not. She didn't fully convert as Loki did, where she was a hard ass, but in a way she found love. And of course that's a Loki variant, so she's gonna fall in love with herself. But I don't know. It's just it's like
I
you
think
don't
what
go.
makes her the most dangerous Loki variant is because, she acts on impulse, whereas like this Loki, like at least he's like negotiable. He has like a cooler head. I feel like she takes everything personally.
Here's the thing, though. Out of all the Lokis, she's the most experienced, right? Because she's been through multiple timelines, whereas Loki grew up as Loki, but she's been through multiple timelines, right? So I guess I understand why seeing all that death more than Loki has, why she would make that decision. I think it was a bit rash, right? Because you don't go to war with a country just because your feelings are hurt or something like that, because it ends bad every time. And now it's ending bad, so... I don't know how they're gonna take care of her. She's
kind of like
there.
a Peter Quill moment when you think about it. It's like
exactly.
For them, like, do we go through it or can we just hold on for like a second and just think about it? Like,
right, because that's why it's so funny that I mentioned that. Like, this reminds me so much of Endgame, because it's like that's right, exactly what you're saying. It's such an important moment, and you shouldn't screw it up. So it didn't happen. So I don't know. I like her as a character, though. I really dig not dig. Sorry, I made a promise not to say it anymore. I really enjoy the essence she brings to the show thus far. But how about yourself? What do you think actually of Mobius? Do you think in a way his character kind of developed through? I mean, obviously it has, and then we went back. But I don't know. I have a sweet spot for Mobius. He's that warm soul.
Yeah, Mobius was like, he's kind of like the soul, I guess, of this show. I like where he's gone from being like this conformist, believing that his position is part of a grander scheme. He kind of like drank the Kool-Aid, like that Renslayer was talking about earlier. But now from like episode 1 to now, he's kind of like, and you can see it slowly. It's not like he just suddenly like, changed, which would have been like weird. It's like he kind of like was questioning things like over every episode. Like it started with the was it one of the hunters that got enchanted? Like he starts questioning things. So he kind of gets his humanity back, which I like. And then like towards the end, he's really like fighting for all timelines that I think he feels kind of guilty in a way because he's been responsible.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing too.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he was at work. I thought like at first he was just gonna, all right, you're my favorite, Sylvie, and he goes make a cup of coffee somewhere. So like, I didn't know what was happening. I feel like I completely agree with you. I feel like Ramona, Ramona was a teacher, right, in her original timeline or whatever. So it's like, I guess she has those basic principles to her character, no pun intended. But it's like right now I'm thinking, I think that she developed as a character as well. For the better or worse, I don't know. She's definitely gonna meet Kang, right? Because they're love interests.
Yeah.
but probably, yeah, she probably will get worse later on.
Because she kind of drank the Kool-Aid too, like to the point where like she's like trying to stop everybody from this. I mean, I can understand why she's doing that because she does believe that, and she's kind of right in a way because like you need order for something this grand scale. If when you're talking about timelines that goes beyond like universes, so you kind of need order in a way, but at the same time you're subjecting innocent people from their free will, like Mobius was saying.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen next. I don't know if it's even gonna tie in with Ant-Man. I keep saying Ant-Man and the Wasp, Ant-Man Quantumania. The whole series thus far, though, I really enjoyed it. Great
Even like
series, honestly.
Hunter, what was it, Hunter B-15? Like her transformation too. Like she kind of annoyed me in the beginning, but now she's kind of like cool with everybody now. So I like where she's went.
Yeah, if you haven't watched, there's a film on Netflix that's called Our House, I believe. I think it's called Our House. Something with her in it, right? If you just search her on IMDb or something like that. It's such a great movie, and that's where I first seen her, and her character develops there extensively as well. And it's like she's such a great actress, and she's one of the main cast, obviously, and Our House is a horror movie. But going back to that, yeah, her character development, and she's like thinking about the grander scale of things as well. She's like, you would think, oh, she's gonna go back to her original timeline, like, okay, now I know, let me just leave, right? But she doesn't. She continues to help out.
She commits.
Yeah, so I hope that we see Mobius's family in season 2. I got a feeling we will. Maybe that's the thing, you gotta restart now. You gotta like tell him, oh, this is it, and no one's gonna listen to Loki. They just think he's like an analyst or something like that. So I don't know.
Do you think that Mobius so in the end, like when Loki goes back to the TVA, right, and then he starts telling Mobius and Hunter B everything, and then they act like they don't know him, so obviously either something happened, or I have a theory that maybe that is not the Mobius that we saw. There's probably another Mobius, maybe that Kang, because obviously Kang has taken over, or like a different Kang has taken over the TVA. So do you think that's another Mobius because that never met this Loki, and maybe the Mobius that we know is somewhere still?
Yeah, that is an interesting theory, because why would they have that statue there unbeknownst to Loki? You know what I mean? So it's like, I would imagine it's a different timeline. That does make sense. Now, could you go back to the original timeline that the TVA was located in? Are there multiple TVAs now, right? Because usually it's just a singular thing. So maybe now it became so much worse. Well, we did see it branch off the timeline. It was like crazy. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Everything's such a it's you got to think about the big picture. It's worse.
It's hard
than
to wrap your
Endgame.
head around everything now. I know.
It's like me watching Inception for the first time. It's like it's hard. God. It's like it's worse now than Thanos, you know. And it's so funny because it's just a TV show that you may or may not subscribe to, right? To Disney Plus, so you may miss this.
What's even scarier now that you think about it? It's like there are multiple Thanoses out there that are probably just lying dormant that could somehow make their way into our Marvel universe, and then it's fucking Endgame all over again.
Basically, I mean, Thanos, he wasn't like ride or die with the Infinity Gauntlet, I guess, because in the comics, you probably like it'll get boring. So I guess he's like off doing other things. I don't know, doing jiu-jitsu or something, whatever. But he's like, you could bring him back, and it's not
he's farming somewhere. He's like,
yeah. Like you could bring him back, and maybe what if Thanos also evolves just as Loki? Maybe not for the better, but like maybe he's past the Infinity Gauntlet now. He wants to go after the timeline or something like that. I don't know, or maybe he just wants to do something for the greater good again. There's so many possibilities. That's why I think they did this, and I think this has been a long time just like processing and trying to write the story, because everything's dependent on this, right? Unless season 2 just like rectifies everything and like just says, oh, we're going back to the same way we was, then I feel like that's a waste of potential. But if they're like going balls out and like, let's do it, you know what I mean? It's gonna be huge for the MCU.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna definitely have some major ramifications for the rest of the MCU. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a great season. I enjoyed every episode. I mean, undoubtedly, it's just like I said before, it's like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. They all just hit, man. Like great storytelling, you know, great characters. Yeah. I fell in love with everyone, and it's kind of hard now to watch them go.
Oh man, well, we got Hawkeye coming up next, I guess, or Miss Marvel. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't wait for season 2. I'm anticipating it highly. I like that each episode. It was such a fun concept too. It was a really fun show, right? Everything felt kind of grand, you know, when you think about well, the second we saw Infinity Stones as a paperweight. Right. So, I mean, I love the show. It was really fun. Is it my favorite Marvel show though? Is it your favorite Marvel show or a Disney Plus show thus far? for
Well,
Marvel?
it's hard to say because I
It's
really
fresh, I
I
guess, the
really
last
like
episode.
WandaVision a lot because I mean like WandaVision like subverted my expectations. Like it didn't take itself too seriously. It was kind of like this. It was kind of cool and campy, but it had like mystery involved in it. I like that a lot, and it rightfully deserves all the Emmy nominations that's gonna get.
A lot. Yeah, I've
I know,
seen that. Wow.
I know, right?
A
Um,
lot.
and Falcon and Winter Soldier, of course, was like great. Like I love their dynamic duo, like chemistry, like Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. Like they're just awesome together. But this show, like, yeah, I did. It was weird. It was funny, but it was also kind of like a sci-fi movie. Like every episode felt like a movie to me. I feel like I was
Yeah.
watching like a lost season of like Doctor Who or some shit.
Basically, yeah. I
I haven't
mean, they
watched that
had
show in a
that.
long time either. So it was cool to see like and I love time travel like movies or like if they're done well. If it's like fucking like
Same.
Edge of Tomorrow or what's that?
Don't
The Tomorrow War.
oh, Tomorrow War. Okay, that's one thing. Don't fuck with my Edge of Tomorrow.
Okay, Edge of Tomorrow. No, I'm thinking I'm probably mixing them up, but but yeah, if they're done well and they really like take time to like
Right.
flesh out the screenplay, then I enjoy every moment of it. How do you feel about it?
It's hard to say because each show is dealing with different mediums. You have time travel, you have politics, and you also have magic. So it's like it's hard to say, but I mean it's still fresh. So I guess I would consider Loki being my favorite show, but I considered Falcon and Winter Soldier my favorite show. But I didn't like WandaVision as much as a lot of people did. I felt like if I mentioned this before, it fell into the typical Marvel Cinematic Universe or superhero fight at the end, which I felt was like kind of disingenuous to the series like in the beginning. So but aside from that, I guess I would rate Loki my number 1 and Falcon and Winter Soldier my number 2 and WandaVision my number 3. I think that makes sense for me at least.
It's hard for me to rate them just because I feel like a crime to rate them honestly because they're all so genuine. Loki,
Yeah.
I would definitely put either 1 or 2. It's just it's definitely one of those shows that makes you rewatch it a second time, just because there's so much to it and you really like invest in the characters, For me, and there's not that many characters in this show. Like honestly,
Yeah, when you think about it, actually, there
like
isn't.
compared
That's
to
funny.
compared to like WandaVision or like Falcon Winter Soldier, there's only like what maybe 4, 5 main characters, and then each one
Yeah.
just hits hard. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. It's like less is more in some aspects, but I really did enjoy this series a lot, and I'm glad if Marvel takes this direction that they did with all these shows, and then I'll definitely be excited to watch future content.
Oh, absolutely. I'm down no matter what. I mean, I love Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I just hope they find a way to like my overall thoughts too in general from that is I just hope they find a way to like combine everything from things that might be hard to combine, right? Because you also have prequel comic books, right? Not too many novels, and you also have other shows from different networks that I hope they could combine in the future. But overall, very important episode. I love this episode. Very good discussion actually with you. I was so excited we got this fresh, so it's great times.
Now, if you guys haven't already watched our Loki season 1 review, if you haven't watched the show yet, you should definitely check it out. We also have a Black Widow spoiler review in our podcast, so if you guys want to check it out, feel free. And make sure to follow us on Anchor, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to us. We thank all our listeners for supporting our channel. If you like this discussion and you want to hear more topics like these, and be sure to follow us on our social media accounts in the description. Until then, thanks for having lunch with us, guys.
Later.